All right, let's talk about the apps you use every single day. We're going to trace the entire journey of how software gets made, from that first little spark of an idea all the way to the finished product that you hold in your hands. It's a pretty incredible process that really powers our digital world, so let's just dive right in. I mean, think about it. You tap on an icon, and this whole world opens up. But have you ever really stopped and wondered how that actually happens? It's definitely not magic. It's a highly structured, super fascinating process. And that's exactly what we're going to break down today. So here it is. This is the big picture, the entire roadmap from start to finish. We've got 8 key steps, and this is going to be our map for today's journey. We're going to walk through each one of these phases to see exactly how a simple idea becomes a real working piece of software. Now, to make this whole thing a little easier to follow, we've bundled those 8 steps into 5 key sections. First, we'll look at where the idea comes from, the spark and the plan. Then we'll get into building the machine. After that, we'll see it go into the real world. We'll see how it all wraps up in closing the loop. And finally, we'll uncover these unseen guardrails that guide the whole process. Okay, let's dive into our first section. Before you can build anything great, you need a rock-solid foundation. And in the world of software, that foundation isn't code, it's clarity. This first phase is all about nailing down the why and the how before a single person even thinks about building something. Right, so no one just wakes up one morning and decides to build a massive new app. A project doesn't begin on a whim. It all starts by answering some really fundamental questions. Why are we even doing this? What does success actually look like? And maybe most importantly, who is in charge here? This is where the core purpose gets defined. And this is where it gets real. You see how a raw idea, the input on the left, gets formalized. A business case or some strategic goal gets transformed into an approved project charter. Now that charter is the official green light. It's the piece of paper that says, yes, this project is real, it's got funding, and we're ready to go. So, the project's got the green light. What's next? You don't just start coding, right? Nope. This is where the architects come in. The big vision gets translated into a super detailed set of blueprints that absolutely everyone is going to follow. It turns that big why into a very specific what and how. And just look at the level of detail we're talking about here. This isn't just a simple to-do list. You get the main project management plan, a document spelling out every single requirement, the technical architecture, a schedule, and even something called a RACI matrix, which defines exactly who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed for every task. It's thorough. All right, blueprints are done, plans are in hand. It's time to put on the hard hats and actually start construction. Let's jump into our second section and see how all those detailed plans get used to build the actual software. Think of this as the engineering and translation phase. We're taking all those business needs, which are usually written in plain English, and turning them into highly technical schematics that developers can actually work with. This covers everything, from how the database is structured to the very first sketches and prototypes of what you'll see on the screen. And here we go. This is the part everyone pictures when they think about making software, the actual coding. But look at those keywords, controlled increments and quality gates. This is not a free-for-all. Developers build small, manageable pieces of the system, and each piece has to pass through strict checks like code reviews and automated tests before it can be added to the main project. Now here's a little inside baseball for you. When you have a bunch of people writing code at the same time, how do you keep it from turning into chaos? Well, teams use different strategies. You can think of Git flow as being like a classic car assembly line. Everything moved toward big, scheduled releases. Trunk-based development, on the other hand, is more like a Formula One pit crew, constantly making tiny, rapid upgrades. The strategy you choose really depends on the pace of the project. Okay, so the code is written, but hold on, we can't ship it yet, not even close. Before a single user gets to see it, the software has to survive a trial by fire. Testing isn't just about squashing bugs, it's a deep, comprehensive validation to make absolutely sure the thing works, that it's secure, and that it actually does what it promised to do. And I mean, it really is a gauntlet. We're not just kicking the tires here. The software is tested to see if all the features work, if the different parts play nicely together, how it holds up under a ton of stress, and, of course, if it's secure. But the final, most important hurdle is user acceptance testing, or UAT. That's when real users get their hands on it and give the final thumbs up. All right, the machine has been built, it's been tested, it survived the gauntlet. Now, it's showtime. In this section, we're launching the software into the wild for real users and kicking off its operational life. This is what we call go live. And trust me, it's a high-stakes, super carefully choreographed moment. The goal is to get the new software out to the live environment so smoothly that users barely even notice anything happened. A common trick is called a blue-green deployment. You have two identical systems. You switch the traffic from the old blue one to the new green one instantly. It's seamless. Now, you might think the story ends at launch, but honestly, it's really just the beginning of a whole new chapter. The software now has to be monitored 24/7, maintained, patched for any security issues that pop up, and supported. This is the long-term promise to keep the product running smoothly and reliably for everyone who uses it. So the app is out in the wild, it's running, it's doing its thing, but the project that created it, that's not quite done yet. This next phase is all about a formal, clean ending that helps the whole organization get smarter for next time. This phase is all about dotting the I's and crossing the T's. It's about formally verifying that, yep, we delivered everything we promised. But the real gold here is the chance to learn what went right, what went wrong. Capturing that knowledge is incredibly valuable. And this knowledge isn't just, a pat on the back. It gets captured in some really important documents: a final report, a lessons learned register, and a full archive of all the project documentation. This isn't just busy work. It's what makes sure the next team to come along doesn't have to start from scratch and can build on this project's successes. Okay, so we've followed the path all the way from A to Z, but there's something else that's been going on this whole time, kind of in the background. Let's talk about the unseen guardrails that have been keeping this entire process on the right track from the very beginning. And this is a really important distinction. What we're about to talk about, these aren't just more steps in the process. Think of them more like the rules of the road or the guardrails on a winding mountain highway. They are active constantly through every single phase to keep the project safe and heading in the right direction. And these 5 guardrails all work together. From day one to the very end, teams are constantly managing potential risks, carefully controlling any changes to the plan, assuring quality, reporting on their progress, and keeping all the documentation in perfect order. It's this discipline that allows such a complex process to actually succeed. So there you have it, the whole thing. A highly methodical, super structured process designed to deliver predictable, high-quality results. Which leaves us with a really interesting question to chew on. In a system that's built on such a rigid framework, where does that spark of true creativity and game-changing innovation actually find the room to breathe?